Hey everyone, and welcome back to Ryan's Live Life. In this episode, it's going to be a total gear nerd out. So if you're not into live sound, if you're not into techie stuff like this, I would applaud you if you stuck through it, but I would understand if you didn't. So this one is for all of my live sound people. This is going to be an episode on 5 quick fixes you can do to help make you a better live sound engineer. So things like feedback, weird buzz noises, stuff like that, those little annoying fixes that always happen when you're mixing sound, that's what we're going to address today. I'm going to try to move as fast as I can and not elaborate too much. This is a video that is for people who have a little bit of a background in the industry, at least enough to know their way around a board. So moving fast, we're going to dive right in. First tip is going to be how to get rid of a buzz out of a guitar, bass, keyboard, stuff like that. You know, there's always like that little buzz right in the very bottom of the channel, and when you're playing it's not a really big deal, but when they stop playing and it's between songs, there's like an annoying zzz, and it's just horrible. Well, what you can do is you can either put a DI box on it and you can flip on your ground lift, or you can put an inline ground lift in. There's ways to fix it like that, but sometimes it just doesn't work and you're just stuck with an annoying buzz and it's between the songs, and it just really cuts into the atmosphere when there's this silence and nothing else is going on, and you just got zzz going on. So quick way to fix that is throw a gate on the channel. So I have an acoustic guitar for this example, and I just have it plugged in, sitting down, and the goal is to be able to gate out the buzz, but still be able to have the guitar come out totally fine and have it not affect the actual tone and sound of the guitar. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute the channel, bring it up a little bit. You can hear that buzz. There's a little bit of feedback going on there too, just because I have it turned up a little bit. So you can hear that kind of annoying buzz. It's kind of a hiss in this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and throw a gate on this channel, take our threshold up a little bit until it goes away. Boom, simple as that. For reference, I have my hold at 316 milliseconds, release is 241. I would play around with that to see what would work best, because you don't want it to be constantly slamming up and down super fast. I have the range at 20 because you don't need to slam it down 60 dB. You know, just need to bring it down so that way it cuts out of the mix when it's not supposed to be there. But if for some reason you have it gated too high, you don't want to be slamming your guitar down 60 dB constantly during a song. If your gate does catch your guitar, only coming down 10 or 20 dB is a lot less obnoxious than 60. So we're just going to cut it so it's just cutting it out a little bit, so that way there's not an annoying buzz in there, or hiss, whatever you want to call it. So gate on, gate off, gate on. And like I said, you want to make sure that you can actually hear the guitar too, and that's not affecting that at all. So I'm going to go run and just strum it so that way you can hear that it still works. So there you go. I would play around with it a little bit to make sure it's not, you know, when you have those really soft notes, that it's not cutting those out. It's just, you gotta find that happy medium is to where you're cutting out what you don't want, but you're not taking away anything you need. So when you have an annoying, unwanted sound in your channel, throw a little gate on it. So a couple of weeks ago I was at an event and I wasn't even doing anything with audio. I was just there at the event, and there was a band playing and they had some pretty nice stuff and they were getting sound checked and whatever, and I noticed they were having definitely some kind of an issue. It appeared to be with their click track. So their click track, long story short, was coming through their guitar channel through this guy's like rack mount guitar processor thing, and it was coming out of the guitar channel and it wasn't supposed to be, so it was coming out of the mains. So I just walked over and just kind of said, hey, you know, what's going on? Is there anything I can do to help? So they told me what was going on, and I said, well, you know, it's probably something with your rack mount guitar processor. It's probably, because that's where the click's coming from, and I'm sure it's some kind of programming you got going on in there. And I said that, and then they just didn't really do anything. They just kind of like, oh, okay. And I was like, yeah, okay. Well, anyway, I kind of lingered around a little bit, and then I noticed that one of the guys was going to start trying to EQ out the click track of the channel. EQ the whole guitar channel to try to take out the high end of the click track. And I was like, what are you doing? So I walked over and I said, hey, just throw a gate on it. You know, the click is way softer than the actual guitar channel, so just gate it up a little bit so in between songs you're not hearing a constant click, and at least that'll get you fixed for now. And they're like, oh, yeah, that'll work. So they just gated the channel up a little bit so you couldn't hear the click, and it worked great. So it's kind of a multi-use function. You can use it for buzzes, but if you happen to have a click track coming through your channel randomly, then you can use it for that too. So the next one is having a band DCA. If you don't know what a DCA is something on most consoles. It's kind of like a subgroup, so you can combine the volume of multiple channels to control with just one fader. But the difference between a DCA and a subgroup is a DCA doesn't have any processing or dynamics or anything like that. It's just purely volume. So you can't EQ or stuff like that. But enough on that. If you don't know what a DCA is, YouTube that. So back to it, a band DCA. So normally you're gonna have a DCA for your drums, your guitars, your keys, your vocals, your lead vocal, whatever your DCA setup is. Well, what I like to do if I have room for one more is I'll throw my last DCA as an entire band DCA. And what I have there is I'll take all of my instruments, so not my vocals, and I'll throw those all in one DCA right over here. So I kind of use it as like a fail-safe way backup if something really gets going crazy and all of a sudden the band is for some reason way loud and the vocalist has dropped down like 20 dB and I don't have any more room on their fader. I have that band DCA where I can kind of creep that down and it brings all of the instruments down so I can keep that vocal on top, because that's obviously what you want. So it's kind of an emergency use thing, but let's just take a look and kind of show you what I mean. So first, I like to have my band DCA just up at 0. That way it's not affecting anything when I don't want it to. It's, like I said, it's there in the background. We'll bring up our drum DCA, our bass, our guitar, keys, our vocal. Throw some effects in there. So for example, if for some reason the vocalist suddenly stops singing and they go to start speaking, usually people speak a lot quieter than they sing. So if you're trying to get that out and you don't have time to go through and make fine adjustments and you just need to quick get that vocal on top, you can bring down that band DCA and you can isolate your vocal. Just like that. So like I said, I use it very sparingly. I'm not gonna ride that fader all the time. It's just there if for some reason suddenly I need to bring the entire level of the rest of the band down so I can punch that vocal straight to the top. So it might be kind of obvious, but it wasn't obvious to me when I first heard about it. So I was like, you know, that actually makes a lot of sense. It's a fail-safe. If you have an extra DCA, I'm not saying, you know, go slice one of your DCAs to sacrifice for a band one, but oftentimes you'll have one extra, or if you have 2 vocal DCAs, something like that, something you can spare, then you can use it as a band DCA, and I highly suggest it because it's super useful and it's just kind of it's just a little trick to have in the pocket in case something kind of starts to get out of hand. You can just pull that down and away you go. On to tip number 3, and that is EQing your effects. So for some reason, a lot of beginners, they don't think about EQing their effects. Well, your effect channels are just another channel. Audio passes through them. Why would you not manipulate them to sound exactly how you want? But I don't blame anybody because I didn't think about EQing my effects either. At least when I first started doing sound, I just didn't think about it. So to kind of show you what I mean, I'm going to just isolate the snare. You can hear that I got a little bit of reverb on there. It's just a 1.5 second little thing to just kind of liven it up. Side note, these multi-tracks are from Telefunken.com. It is a website you can download multi-tracks for free, and it's all Telefunken mics, so it's really high quality recordings. And yeah, so if you need multi-tracks to mess around with, check out Telefunken. You can either EQ it on the send or the return. I usually do it on the send just because that's where the audio goes out first. Might as well get your EQ done right away, but you can always do both if you really need to for some reason. Anyway, so let's take a listen to our snare here with a little bit of verb on there. I'm gonna kind of make it a little over obnoxious just so you can hear it. So we'll go to our EQ, turn it on, throw a little low pass on there, throw it up to maybe, I don't know, 100. And this is all to taste, so you can play around with whatever you want. Then, I might do a little bit of sweeping action just to see what's all in there that I don't want. Alright. So there, don't want that. And as you get to know your frequencies more, you won't have to do the whole sweeping thing as much, but I'm just showing you for reference. More tools for the kit, you know? So that honky sound, I don't want that doing a whole lot of reverb. I'm gonna liven it up a little bit, maybe just throw a little bit of top end in there just for a little extra presence. A little much. So it's a little top endy for me yet. Maybe bring back some of those lows. Yeah, anyway, I don't know how it sounds with the mic, you know, we've got a whole, I'm rocking like a 12 and a dual 18 here, so I don't know how that's translating to you via our little Rode mic here, but it's mostly just the idea of it. I'm not really showing you how to do it, I'm just saying EQ your effects, because not everybody does, and not everybody knows to do that, so just do it. And that goes for all effects, reverb, delays, stuff like that. You know, even if you just throw a low and a high pass on there, you're getting rid of the junk that you probably don't want. So, yeah, try it out. Sticking with the EQing theme, EQ your monitors. This was one of those things that now is blatantly obvious, but when I first started out, again, I just didn't think about it. You know, you EQ your channel, and that goes out to the speakers, and it's all done. Well, you have monitors too. Those are speakers. Those are personal PAs, basically. So yeah, you're gonna need to EQ those as well. So if you're having a lot of feedback problems at your church or venue or tour or whatever you're doing, if you're having a bunch of feedback from your wedges, EQ them. Maybe you have EQ'd them and you just haven't EQ'd them the right way or as much as you should have. So for this reference, I'm going to essentially treat this back speaker here as what would be my monitor if I was a musician and I was on stage. So we'll go to this channel. Hey, hey, hey. So what we're going to do is we're going to hop over to the main EQ, and it has a little bit on there just from messing around earlier. Got a clean slate. Hey, 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 hey. So like I said, it's kind of hard to tell the levels when you're watching this on a video, but where I'm at right now, that's about what I would want my monitor to be if I was on stage. Usually right away, I like to go ahead and add a low shelf or a low pass, kind of whatever fits the best. Hey, 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 hey. I'll usually throw it at 80. It depends on the instrument. If it's a vocal wedge, I'll throw it up to 80 or 100 and feel pretty okay about it. But if it's a drummer or a bass guitar player, I might keep it down a little bit farther, because if they want a little bit of their bass or drum in there, I don't want to start hacking away all of their nice boomy frequencies. Let's just get back to it. 222, I'm at a low shelf, way down there. Next we'll go to our low mids, 222. You can do your sweep thing here if you want. Okay. Bring that 266 down there a little bit, 22. Hey, 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 hey. Low mids 2, so we're in that like 400 to 500 range, which is going to be kind of that honky, the start of the honk anyway, where it's kind of just low and just muddy. So that I pretty much always take out. 2, hey, 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 hey. So it's getting better, sounding good. 2. Let's go to our high mids 1 here. And I'm going to add a little bit of level just to see if we can start getting some ring happening. 2. Yeah, okay. So you can hear that little bit of feedback. Ooh, that's scary sounds. So you can hear that little bit of feedback in there. That's what I want. I'm just going to show you for demonstration. Normally I wouldn't want this loud, especially because it's a foot behind my face. We're going to go ahead and take this one, that really honky, ooh, 2, hey, hey, hey. My tip is to find the frequency that's really causing the issue with a narrower band of EQ. Find the really big troublemaker, and then starting to widen it out to taste. Because ideally you want to do as little to the channel as possible, just to maintain clarity and tone. But don't be afraid to start hacking away at stuff, because sometimes that's what just needs to happen. This is live sound. This isn't fancy, comfy studio where we get to play around with stuff for however long we want to. This is real time, so do what you gotta do, but maintain that tone as much as possible. So this is kind of a real troublemaker right at 1K about. We'll bring that down to 2 and we'll widen up to 2. Hey, hey. Sounding a lot better. Our ring is going down, so we're not feeding back at all. I'm probably doing the really weird face things. If you're in the industry, you know how this is, but if you don't do this and you're wondering why the hell I'm doing this crap, it's to make the microphone feedback because all these little face motions that I'm doing, it just helps to expose all of the nastiness that microphones have. So don't be weirded out by my faces. Onto our high mids 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Yeah. So this particular speaker is pretty hot in that 2 to 2.5K range. So I usually end up cutting that down a little bit. 2, 2, 2. Hey, hey. I am careful to do a whole lot though because I want to maintain clarity, because when they're rocking on stage, you want to be able to cut through with your wedge so you don't have to add more volume. Because oftentimes keeping high end involved a little bit more will help musicians be able to hear themselves rather than just adding more stage volume, because that's not what we want. We want to maintain as low of a volume on stage as possible. So more high end and clarity over volume. And then for the highs, I'll just usually throw a high shelf on, just because when they're rocking out on stage and they really start digging in, you don't want to blow them away. You want clarity, you don't want ear-piercing nastiness. So 2, 2, hey, hey, hey. So you can hear that in there. It's not what we really want right here. So with that little high shelf on there, it just kind of keeps it tame, and it keeps it, I don't know why I'm talking into this mic. It just keeps it tame and it retains your clarity without blowing away your musicians with a bunch of unnecessary high end that's just going to add to the volume. So I'm just going to go ahead and zoom in here on the curve just so you can see what I've done. Hopefully you've been kind of watching as I've been doing it, but this is just reference. This is not how your wedge is going to be. Maybe it will, but everything's different. Every environment's different. I'm surrounded by steel and concrete right now. So basically the worst possible situation. I'm like 10 inches away from the speaker. So if I can get these results with 2, 2, 2, this volume, and in this environment, you can totally do the same. It just takes a little bit of practice and learning your frequencies and learning what you need in a wedge and what is okay to sacrifice when you need to. So EQ your monitors. It will save you a life of headaches and improve your musician's playability and just really everything. If you don't do it for some reason, please start. All right, we're gonna go ahead and mute that. Okay, so this last one is a little bit more of an advanced one, but not really. It's super easy. It's just something that people might not think about. So when it comes to front fills, a lot of times what people do is they'll just take a matrix and they'll feed it from their main left-right, and whatever's going into the main left-right, they'll just send it to their matrix and that'll go out to the front fill and they'll call it a day. And that's totally fine. I've done it before and it's a really quick way to do a front fill. But what I like to do if I have the time and it fits what I'm doing is I will do a matrix and I will feed it with my main left-right, but I won't crank it up. I won't just have blaring main left-right in there, because front fills are down in front of the stage, and people that are down in front of the stage are way closer to the actual guitar amps and the drums that are on the stage than anybody else. So they're gonna hear all that stuff acoustically. So you don't need to be throwing more of it into their face at the same level as your vocals. So I'm gonna go ahead and demonstrate this as I'm talking. So what I like to do, let's get our mix kind of just back up and rocking here. Okay, so our mix is back up and going. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back to our routing, because I wanna make this be our front fill. So I'll go to my routing and I'll go to up 15, which was my main left, and I will change that way down here to matrix 1, and I'll assign that. So we're doing a aux fed sub, so that's why you're hearing the sub right now, if you can hear that anyway. So we got our left right up, but we're not hearing the mains. That's because our matrix is still down. So we'll bring that up. Just gonna take the sub down just because we don't need it right now. So this is now our front fill fader. So we bring for our left right is up. We'll hear our mix in there. This is our front fill. Everything is great. But what I like to do is I will add a bus in there, almost like a monitor mix. So I will send certain things that I want more prominent in the front fills, like vocals, which is usually the only thing I'll put on the bus, because those are the things that need the most reinforcement. So we're going to treat bus 1 as our matrix bus feed. So what we'll do is we'll go back to our channels, click on our vocal channel, and we'll start feeding that in to bus 1 a little bit. So then if we have our matrix right here, we can add in the bus. So it's finding that balance. So bring up your main left right so it's feeding that and you're getting a little bit of everything. But add that bus in there so that way you can get a little bit more mileage out of your front fills because you're using them in a more effective way. Because if you just crank up the main left right, they're just going to hear all that and the vocals are going to get lost for those front rows. So add a bus in there, send your vocals or anything that you think needs more reinforcement to the bus, send the bus to the matrix, and you are set. Just a quick recap as far as routing goes. So everything is routed to our main left right. Our left right is routed to our matrix 1. And in addition, we are sending our vocal channel to bus 1, which is also being sent to our matrix 1. So matrix 1 is being fed by our main left right and bus 1. That may be kind of confusing, but just work it back in your head, work your signal flow, and it all makes sense. And if you don't do it, try it. Because if you have front fills and you're using front fills a lot, I think you'll see a super big improvement in just the way that those sound, because people forget about those. They'll just stick them out front and throw their matrix up and they'll be like, that's fine, I'm sure it'll be okay. But don't forget that the whole goal of being a sound engineer is giving the same experience to every seat in the house. So we want our position front of house to sound just as good as the front row. And by getting more mileage out of your front fills and using things effectively, you can do that. So try it. It's another thing to do. You know, it will work for some people and it won't work for others. So I suggest you at least try if you haven't already. So anyway, I hope that these tips helped you in some way. This is kind of the first video like this I've done, so forgive me if it's a little slow and rambly and I don't know. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. There's 5 tips in there for you. If one made sense and helped you, let me know in the comments below, because I want to know if these type of videos are something that you guys want to see more of. Because as you know, audio and live audio is at the heart of this channel, and things are getting more involved with photography and videography, and that hobby is kind of transformed into more of a professional thing for me, so you'll start seeing more of that on this channel. I'll never forget that this channel started out of my work in the event industry, so I don't want to let that go away and not give you guys that content, because I love doing this, and with doing it more, it'll certainly, holy hell, and as I do it more, everything will get smoother. I know it won't be for everybody because not everybody's into this stuff, but I know for a fact that there's a few people out there that are looking at the live sound stuff, and that's what they're here for. So this is for you. And with that, please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button so that way anytime new content comes out here on Ryan's Live Life, you can be the first to know. So thank you for checking out my live life. Remember to get out there and live yours.